Hello and welcome to Daft Souls, episode number 45. Today I'm joined by Mr. Stephen Hogarty.
Hello. How's it going?
I always say your name wrong.
Hogarty.
You should know.
You've known me for like
I know.
6 years.
The problem is I've got so used to saying it wrong as a joke that now I can't remember in my own head what the right way is.
That's fair enough.
It's Hogarty, like yogurty. But people also say yogurt, so it's not a very helpful way of remembering.
Hogarty, that's where it started, a long time ago. Yeah. And Gav Murphy.
Hello. It's easy to say my name.
Gav's
two names.
It's a normal name.
Yeah.
Morphine.
Gav Morphine.
How you guys been doing?
Awesome. Good. I have to pay special attention to recalling which podcast I'm on. I'm on Daft Souls and not on our regular features podcast.
Which we just recorded 2 seconds before this.
Which you should listen to if you want to hear the same 3 people talking about things completely different.
Yeah, using more rude words and being a little bit less restrained.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. So in the past few weeks we've had, well actually not a lot, but before that we had talking about XCOM and a lot of E3 stuff basically for the last couple of weeks because it's all been like hype and excitement.
Yeah.
So I'm quite looking forward to getting back to stuff that people have actually physically played a little bit.
Yeah.
Me and Steve, at the end of this, we're going to talk about her story a little bit. I don't usually do this kind of intro for the podcast, but Gav hasn't played it.
And I don't want to spoil.
I really liked her story.
Yeah.
Steve didn't like it. But that's fine. But I don't feel it's very easy to talk about that without getting into the verge of spoiling, because it's sort of talking about the structure, and you talk about the structure, then you've just spoiled it.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is at the end of it, me and Steve will start talking about it very briefly, and then as soon as we get anywhere near, you will know that for the rest of the podcast it is just that. So you can just happily pull it out of your ears like you're pulling a raccoon out of your face.
I'll say goodbye, and then you'll know that if you don't want her story spoiled for you, come on with me.
Come over to
my house and help me clean my flat.
If we lived in the future, you would just be able to like red button it and just go home with Gav instead.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? I was just about to say, don't worry, I'll periscope my journey home, so everyone who doesn't want to spoil it, but this doesn't go out live, does it?
No. Everyone will be like, what's he doing?
I might still do it anyway.
It would be like a joke that wouldn't make sense until the future.
Yeah. So
what have you guys been playing recently? I've had a dark time with Fallout Shelter, if I talk about that very briefly.
It's fucking brilliant, isn't it?
It is, but I had a really dark time with it.
Are you as shit at it as I am?
I was for a while.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it. Like, I don't understand how I'm so bad. Like, why is everyone so fucking miserable?
I'm glad that somebody else said that.
My game is just full of fucking miserable pregnant women.
Yeah, I know, right?
They're miserable enough to just be like, just have their faces like sad all the time. Not miserable enough not to be fucking 24/7 though. Anytime I put 2 people in the room, that's it. They're fucking, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if they're like they haven't eaten for days.
What else can you do in a shelter?
Well, it's a bit dark though, because it's not like I think I get why they've done it. They probably thought, guys, to actually do a proper simulation, that's going to be a lot of work. So let's make it completely like manual, which means that people don't develop relationships and develop families or outside of their job. The way it works is if you want people to have a baby, you put them in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then the problem is
how it should be.
Yeah. And it
none of this kitchen nonsense.
It does get boring in the end though, because it does mean that the whole game is just this managing people's sex lives, of being like, okay, right, yeah, shuffling people around so that everyone's pregnant all the time in order to maximise the number going up, that's the game, is making the people number go up.
Have you made someone pregnant by accident yet? But I've just gone, you're moving lots of people around, you're like, I'll just move him there for now, I'll move him there as well. And you just come back and you're like, no, stop flirting, I don't want you to fuck, I can't handle another baby.
No, I had a backlog of babies at one point though, where there was no more room, and I was like, why? And then I built another bedroom, and suddenly it just popped out. It was this crazy thing of being like, baby, baby. Imagine how that was like in real life.
That is how it was like in real life.
You can't afford an extra bedroom, so it just stays in there and waits. But I had a really, really unexpectedly dark time with it. I mean, I can't even recommend it that much. It's kind of fun and addictive for a little while, but then once you've got to the point where you've kind of seen all the mechanics and how it works, it's just, you immediately just go, I've not really got any interest in this anymore.
I don't know, like I've stuck with it.
Really?
I've started again though. So I started again and I was just like, right, let's try and be a little bit happier this time.
Well, you get to this point where you build a radio station, and the radio station brings people in, but also it just makes everyone happier.
Yeah.
And then everything's fine. As soon as you build a radio station, as far as I can tell, everything is pretty much fine from that point onwards. But before then, I actually found it to be an unexpectedly really dark experience that actually reminded me, that made me think a lot about the apocalypse, the actual apocalypse, and not the fun apocalypse of Fallout games usually of being like, oh, you've got to go out and explore and find things and fight monsters. But actually the reality of it, of being like, we haven't got many people, which means everyone needs to work really hard so we can all survive.
Yeah,
but
even
also,
the pregnant ones.
because you're a woman, you need to have a baby inside of you. So it became this weird, dark system of everyone being miserable, but everybody ensuring that at any one point, all of the women were pregnant. But then also, that as soon as they were pregnant, they got back to work on the reactor, because otherwise we're all going to die.
Well, yeah, because I've got at one point I had like 3 pregnant women working in the water purification room, and it was just like, they just look horrible. And I was looking at it going,
They're so sad.
they're not having a good time. That baby's gonna come out with antlers.
So I haven't played this because it's not out on Android yet.
No, it's not. Yeah.
What is so it's free, but what's the monetization like? How
It's
does that
pretty
work?
light. I spent a bit of money on it because I wanted to.
Did you?
Yeah, not
Not about
much.
anything on it.
I bought a couple of boxes just because I wanted to.
So if you do cool things, basically you get a lunchbox like you do in Fallout, and inside the lunchbox is like cards that'll have like cool shit. So you'll be like, oh, we'll either give you some money or like, what would it be, like some food?
You get like weapons and armor you can
that's
put for
it,
people,
yeah.
and the armor gives people different stats, and stats
Yeah.
basically means how good they are in the different rooms, and the rooms are
That's
basically
right,
just
yeah.
timer-based things, other being like, oh, then you wait for 4 hours or whatever, and then you can tap that room and it will give you some energy or something. But it's kind of fun, it's kind of gentle. It becomes a problem in the fact that the aim of the game is to amass a large number of people, but then the problem with that is it still requires you, when you've got a lot of people, to manually micro everything. So it's this thing of being like, it kind of makes sense if you've got like shitloads of guns and shitloads of armor. It kind of makes sense to make sure that you give one to everyone, or as many people as you can, because then if you get attacked by raiders and they come into your vault, it means anyone will be able to shoot them. But then you have that thing of being like, well, where did I leave that good gun? And can't remember. And it's kind of one of those games that expands exponentially, but doesn't give you any tools to deal with that in an efficient way. And also you look at what the end game is, and it's like, oh, there's nothing. It's just
do it.
The fun
Keep
thing
on
for
doing
me
it.
was making it so at first, so everyone isn't like having a terrible time.
Yeah.
As soon as everyone was happy, it's like all you got to do is get more people in the vault. But I was like, I'm happy. I've got 30 people.
I'll do that.
Their lives are
That's
great.
too much.
I kind of felt like this is fine. What more
That's
do I need?
already too
Like,
many people. Yeah.
I think it's a shame that there wasn't any kind of aim, or like, because in my mind it's like,
Or missions as well. If you think about it, if they were just like, okay, like if it was like Theme Hospital, it was like, okay, this person has come, now you got to deal with that, or build this thing, or anything like that. Because there's none of that. It is literally, as you said, just a mass people.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make
That's
sense.
That's not what you would want to do.
No.
It's not a survival
You start
thing.
turning people away.
It's like, hey, you've got this really safe underground bunker. You've got 30, 40 people living there, having a lovely time. What should we do? I don't know. Maybe we should like let people in from outside, or like massively increase. Like no one would want that.
no one
Everyone
wants
there
that, yeah.
would just want to survive.
So we're trying to put all our money into like fucking.
It's this
Making
weirdly, like,
kids.
it's a really altruistic vibe of being like,
Yeah.
we want as many people as possible. We want people from outside to come and stay here and be safe. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not how the Fallout games have ever worked. They've always been like, who are you? Excuse me? No, you're not. You don't belong here.
Yeah.
You need to stay out there. Like, that's always what it's been about.
I saw a screenshot. I think it might have been Rich Stanton. I put a screenshot of his vault, and it made me feel sick. I was just with worry. I was just like, oh my, like it was so big, and I was like, fuck, that is like 4 times the size of mine, and I'm stressed out now thinking about it. Like, I don't want to delete the app, but I don't want to open it either to see what's fucking happened since I haven't played it for like 2 weeks.
I will say though, what is fascinating about it is it's a game which is free to play and doesn't take the piss with microtransactions, but it's still built around the foundations of many free to play games. So it has that rush mechanic that all these things have. But rather than asking you to pay money for it, rather than asking you to be like, hey, you can pay 10p to happen now, it has this thing, if rushing has a chance that something bad will happen, like a fire or something, or bugs will come out through, or something bad.
Yeah,
and
it's always bugs. Always bugs come from the
bugs.
outside and just fucks everything up. Or like the room will just burst into flames, and you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but it's this thing of like, that's interesting because the whole rush mechanic is just such a free to play thing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating seeing it in a game where it doesn't ask you for money, but there's still a really bad thing. And actually, in some regards, it's like, you don't want to use it but you end up having to use it. So I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing in the fact that when I first started playing, it was this horrible grind of looking at everyone being so sad, and all these pregnant women just so miserable.
Nobody likes to see a sad prego.
And you know what was worse though as well was the fact that because of the nature of how the game works, everyone has different abilities, right? It's like this guy's like, you know, he's a really strong dude. He's going to be great here. This guy's going to be great in the water treatment here. This guy. So everyone had a place, right? Everyone had like a job, natural jobs. Apart from this one guy, all he was quite charismatic.
She had a big dick. Just sat in the barracks all the time. Bring her in.
That was it.
Also not a baby from Leroy.
It became this really dark thing where I wasn't playing, you know, you're not one of the people in this vault. You are like the overseer. You're the person who's doing it. And these are just people. And you look at the qualities and you go, this man doesn't really have many redeeming qualities. However, the ladies like him. And so he just became like the person who the ladies slept with.
That is sort of how the vaults work in Fallout, though. Every vault had like a hidden sort of social experiment that they were running.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe
that's also how the vaults work in my house in West Norwood.
But I realised how bad the problem had got at one point where I, you know, a few hours later, I put some people in the room to breed, and nothing was happening. And then
don't call it breeding, call it
breeding.
Fucking.
Wow.
It's dirty as fuck.
Mate, it's
like, they're miserable
world, right?
doing it. It's hot, it's sweaty. They got like 95% radiation. They're just going at it for the sake of going at it.
No, they're not though. That's the thing is, this is one level beyond that in terms of badness. It's like they're not even really enjoying it. They're just doing it because they have to.
You know, like a queen bee. Well, the opposite of that.
Yeah.
A queen king.
I think it was called
bee.
Charles, and he had a moustache. And yeah, it was like these people they weren't doing anything, and I was like, why? And then I zoomed into the room, and
because I've seen him fuck 8 people before me. That's why.
No, it was somebody saying, "Oh, it sure
Didn't even
is."
have a wet face cloth in there to rub off. It's smudged. It's smudged to bits. I'm not going near it.
But you're basically getting like pregnant from just a little bit of smegma just sputtering out all over it.
Guys, we've gone well into regular features territory. So if you enjoyed that, listen to the regular features podcast. But no, it was this thing of like I zoomed in and it said, "Oh God," like it was something like, "Oh, it sure is great hanging around with my family," and it's being like, "Oh God,
shit, that's her son."
I've forgotten that like because so many people in the vault had the same dad, it meant that they were all related.
Is there inbreeding in the game?
No, I think they don't allow that in the game.
But it's not allowed to happen.
I think so. I think it's something that is like it won't let it happen, and it has
like
to go. Oh, I love hanging out with my family.
Does it let cousins do it? You need to experiment. You need to do tests in this. See,
whack them all in.
Yeah,
someone get Kotaku on that.
It'd be like that X-Files episode, Home, where they just cut off the mum's like arms and legs and stick her under a bed and be like, right, you're the one that all the babies come out of now. So,
oh my God, I haven't seen that.
I did not know about that. That's too dark.
It's one of the most terrifying episodes of the X-Files ever. I think it's like season 5, episode 2.
I think it's like
it definitely is. I was saying I think it's like because I'd like to feel the touch of a woman again, but I was like, I know it's sometime episode 2.
Good. Anyway, so it was this horrible situation of basically everyone had the same dad, and I love that a lot of the stock conversations that were happening.
They're great, yeah.
Were things like having this guy walking around going, "Oh, I think my son is the best. I think my son is the best kid in the vault," and it's like, yeah, but which one? Like, it's just this idea like the game didn't know that
Leroy.
all of the kids were his, and he was always talking, being like,
maybe it's like a little ride.
My kid's amazing. Like, my kid's the smartest kid in this whole vault, and it's like, yeah. That's because they're all yours.
Also, you've got the dumbest kid, you've got the fattest kid, you've got the thinnest kid.
But then this weird thing happened.
Dumbest kid.
Things did change. Like, we started to have outsiders coming into the vault and more people just coming. And then we had this situation where it was like, oh, and it was kind of, it felt like we'd moved on, but it was really dark. And the fact that it was like, then it changed and he got moved out of that room and then it became a bit more normal. But I love this thing, there's this whole generation where they all just had one dad. Yeah. And it'd be like, people probably wouldn't talk about that, would they? But before we came, before the new people came, it was a bit weird.
They don't need to know.
But I never expected to download a free-to-play iOS game and find it remind me so strongly of The Handmaid's Tale. And the fact that without me even thinking about it, I just became like completely like, oh, well, the pragmatic thing to do here is just to ensure that all of the women get pregnant, and they just continue to be pregnant. And it was like,
all the ones who can get pregnant. No, but
I'm a monster.
They can all actually get pregnant. They can all get pregnant. Yeah, it's not like
pretty unrealistic.
Yeah, that's not what happens in the Handmaid's Tale. But like, they can all, everyone in the vault can actually get pregnant. So it's not like we're holding like a room of people and being like, right, you're the fucking ones. It's not like X-Files Home. Like that's
Stop mentioning that episode of the X-Files.
Yeah, I really wish you'd never mentioned that. I could happily live the whole of my life
No,
without
but
knowing
that is
existed.
kind of like the Handmaid's Tale is. The Handmaid's Tale is like, there's these people who can still breed, and they're the ones who are used for breeding. Whereas in this, everyone can fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that I enjoy it, but imagine if there was like the road version of this app. Well, that would be
I
horrendous.
like.
There's a Kurt Vonnegut novel called Welcome to the Monkey House, which is about a future in which everyone is rendered sterile and has no sex impulse. He wrote this for Playboy. So it's a story about a man with a massive dick who goes around.
He knew his fucking audience, didn't
Just fucking loads of women and like liberating them and giving them their sexual freedom.
I love the
So
fact.
that maybe sounds like what this blokey in the vault, Charles at the old moustache, is
Yeah.
up to.
I love the fact that he's just rung up Playboy. All right, Hef, I got an idea for a story. You just needed some money. He's like, what's it about? Guy with a big dick, fucks other
exactly
women.
what he did,
How
yeah.
much do you want? I want the exclusive. I just got so I've taken loads of screenshots when I was playing it, and I just love how shit all the chat up lines are, because they do. There's a bit of like chat up
Yeah,
in the
terrible.
Barrels of War,
Yeah.
and it's like, did your father sell diamonds? Because you are flawless.
Ugh.
And you'll notice they're both fucking miserable as they're saying that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is how the characters look when they go from being unhappy to happy is dramatic. Like when they're happy, they look like everyone's lovely. But when they're unhappy, they look haggard and horrible. And
Yeah, this is my favourite thing. So this is I think this is the power plant. You can see pregnant woman in the back going, I feel terrible.
it's just bleak.
Like,
And
that's because you're up the duff and you're fucking working in a power plant now.
I just really enjoyed the fact that in the first few hours of the game, you did developing these stories, even though they're really dark. Like I like the fact that Charles, who impregnated everyone and was the father of most of the children for a long time, eventually went to work in the radio station because there his charisma was useful, and then he co-staffed the radio station with one of his sons. So I like the idea that they were like, oh, it's Charles and Charles Jr. Oh yeah. And then they just stayed there forever, and it was like as if my little
Did Charles Jr. ever fuck any women?
I don't remember. But that's the problem I had with it.
wanna
because
find that out.
I like that. The fact that it was like we kind of put this dark history behind us by putting them in there, and then things went back to being normal like they used to be in the old days.
That's like
And
Walking
we've
Dead.
Moved on from it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's a shame because the way the game revolves around this exponential growth of the numbers, it means that you start off with these lovely personal stories, but they quickly get lost because you just have so many people.
That's the problem.
I don't remember
Yeah,
who
yeah,
these
yeah.
people are. Like, you're like, who? It just becomes a numbers game.
That's the thing, because it's about when it's so small, it's like, oh, I care about these people, and then all of a sudden it become like, don't care about these people because we won like 100 times that.
Yeah.
For this game to be able to work. Which
And
is
I guess,
not,
I have to say, it's like, we just spent like almost 20 minutes talking about a free-to-play iOS game which was announced at E3 to
made by
promote,
Bethesda. Like,
promote Fallout 4. It is actually, it's not amazing, but it's somehow really close to being
good.
amazing.
It's a really good game.
It's a good little bit of fun,
Yeah.
but it's one of these things where it made me realise that like I'd like them to like try this again, but do it a bit differently, and it
try
could be
it in
something.
Fallout. Try something like that mechanic in Fallout itself. Like,
Just getting like massive studios to make tiny games.
Yeah.
Like I want to see that happen more often.
yeah. Well, think about like so in
Or Hearthstone.
There you go. Yeah. Something like
It's
that.
ended up making them like stupid money.
But seem like because I know you like Brotherhood, like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, like you like the sort of like managing the sort of gang aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine that on a little iOS thing. You're managing these fucking gangs going around these different cities and stuff.
I can't help but wonder.
I think that's what I want to do.
I can't help but
Like,
wonder if this is actually going to be like somehow connected to Fallout
got
4.
to be. It's got.
I think there's going to be something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll be. But
I think they're
just
playing
get a
around with the
feeling.
management system of it.
There'd be like a vault in Fallout 4 that is your vault in your Fallout shelter.
Oh yeah.
So you go there, and it's not like accurately mapped out, but your progress in that game affects what you see in this.
I think you're right, because like they introduced that thing, and it was like I was in like the IGN like war room, and everyone sort of like collectively just groaned when it was just like, oh yeah, you can craft things, you can make all these different stuff, and it was like the guy when he was making it, he was making it like outside, and he was like, oh, if you want to change the color of this porch, like what the fuck do I want to change that for? I'm never gonna be there. Like, why do I need to craft a sofa? Like, I'm going out. So I think you're right. So I think maybe the reason they're introducing all this crafting stuff is because you're gonna have your own little like Sims style thing, and you can like make cool shit from it.
Well, I like the idea
That's a good
in Fallout 4, the like building your custom built places. It suggests that it's going to be a map that you revisit places a lot more often than you do in other Bethesda.
I don't know though, because I mean,
like in Skyrim and Fallout 3 and even not so much in New Vegas, but you go to a city, you do all the quests there,
You fuck
and unless another city gives you a quest to go back and do something specific there, you
Yeah.
never go there again.
But I think those games attract a certain sort of personality, and I think like it was quite telling that with Skyrim, like there was so much excitement about the expansion that allowed you to like to make a house of your own and like live in it and stuff. I've never played like that, and it wasn't like the game then went, oh, and by the way, you've now got more of a reason to keep going back there.
Yeah,
it wasn't really a reason. It's just that
I think people like permanence and like and being able to feel like you have an anchored position in the world and like a home that you live in.
Yeah, we do all the time with like when we're doing like heists in GTA Online. Like we'll go around our like heist master's house, and like his apartment is fucking way nicer than mine. I'll walk around it, and, like go to his garage, and I'll go to everything, and I'll be like, I don't give a shit because I only use one car in GTA because I use the car I always start with, and I walk around his apartment and I think, okay, maybe I shouldn't be playing it for fun. Maybe it's like, this is pretty cool.
Maybe I shouldn't be having fun with this game.
No, but like maybe I should, because I do everything as a joke. So it'd be like, well, my house is a fucking
maybe
wreck.
if my life wasn't just a big joke.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. But then you go to his house and you're like, he's taking so much pride in making it amazing. Like you walk into the apartment, you're like, fuck, it's amazing. When you walk into mine, it's a mess.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think
people do like that shit.
I mean, I like that stuff. Like that's why I used to love The Sims. I used to love this painstaking creating a place that you'd like to live in, and the aspirational element of it, which in this and the cynical way it was the whole time in the original game. Anyway, it was poking fun at you for this.
Yeah.
Like you want the nicest things.
That's the thing. I like Theme Hospital, where shit is going wrong, and like I'm having to deal with shit.
But it was still about efficiency and about taking pride in creating these efficient little things.
But I can't do it for the sake of doing it.
But I find it funny with stuff like, especially stuff like Skyrim. It's like the whole permanence of those worlds.
Yeah.
Like I think that there's two types of people, and there are people like me who just basically they use that to just jump on a buffet table and kick everything on the floor, and then go, that's funny, and then they come back in and they go, oh yeah, I danced on the table and everything's all over the floor. But other people who really like the ability to like position things on shelves and make like themselves a little home in quite a painstaking, clunky way to do that. It really taps into something in some people. I think that they just like really love, and I kind of in a weird way wish I was one of those people, because I see the enjoyment that people get out of stuff like Skyrim in that, and I just don't get it.
It's the same thing in like I don't know, I was reading about Starbound, the Terraria 2D Minecraft style spacefaring game, and in that game's all about building your base, and like Minecraft's all about that. It's all about like building an encampment and building and customizing and getting it just the way you want it to be. So it's bringing some of that into Fallout and Skyrim. That's the kind of thing people really
It's smart, because those Minecraft kids, they're getting old now. They want some guns.
Minds there, yeah. It's good.
It's good. It is good.
It's got a dog in it.
It's got a dog in it.
Everything's got a dog in it these days, Steve.
Such a badly animated dog, though.
It's all fucking. They're always like German Shepherds as well. What the fuck is that about?
Yeah, and
like people going about, oh yeah, we need more women in games. No, we need different dogs in games. That's what we need.
And a real German Shepherd,
right.
Its hips should be low to the ground. It's one of the demarcations of the breed. It's identified by its low-lying hips, which allows it to get a good running start to catch.
Todd Howard,
criminals.
you listening, Todd Howard?
It's used as a guard dog.
Hire this man. You need a dog expert, Stephen Dougherty.
Yeah, he acts like a dog. He thinks like a dog. He will be a dog for you
one day.
Yeah. Wow. There you go.
What have you been playing at E3? You said you were telling me you've been playing. I
played two games at E3 that like blew my tits off.
Tell us a little bit about
That's
those.
why you've got no tits.
Oh no, I definitely have. I played Eta, which was this. I sent it to you. I sent it like a video of it to you.
So this is like it's kind of it's a clicky game, isn't it? It's not like a controller-y game.
No, it's a controller game.
Yeah, okay,
it's a controller game. It's so it's kind of like a top-down sort of isometric like RPG, but without like the really boring bits of RPG.
How do you spell this?
EITR.
Okay.
It's a really interesting game. The combat is really, really good. It's really simple. It's just one person. It's not like you can choose where you want to go or anything like that.
I've heard a lot from people that say it's kind of like a grey, beautiful, pixely Dark Souls style thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't want to be cynical about it now, because actually I've heard this is really good, but now I'm so fucking bored of people going, it's like Dark Souls, that I want to like rip everybody's throat out.
Genuinely, that's what I thought for going in, because like last year, like Devolver had Titan Souls, and everyone was like, if you like Dark Souls, you're gonna love Titan Souls. And this year it was like, oh, if you like Dark Souls, you're gonna love Eta. And it's like, okay, I get it. Like people like Dark Souls, and people know that sort of like game that they like. But I swear, like playing it was just like, it was something really, really special. And it's like two kids like from Kingston, like in London, like just like really, really young kids who just fucking love video games. And they're just like, they came up with this idea, and it just plays really, really well. Like, it plays suspiciously well for 2 kids.
Do you think they're cheating?
I don't think they're cheating.
Are you sure?
I don't think they're cheating because I feel like I spend so much time with them that I would be able to know.
Should I call the police?
But it's a really, really good game. And like, I played against, I did a couple of like little fights. Then I did the boss, and the boss was just brilliant.
Right, big Billy Baloo.
Yeah, of course I did. Fuck, of course I got the boss. And it was just really, really fun. And it was kind of like, it reminded me of like, almost like, you know, when you're playing Golden Axe. It reminded me of like that kind of fun of Golden Axe. But like, imagine the Golden Axe.
Whoa, hang on.
No, but imagine Golden Axe.
Golden Axe
but
was
hard.
shit.
No, imagine Golden Axe. Shut up, Matt.
It was shit.
Imagine Golden Axe, but hard.
Like, you played Golden Axe recently.
I don't need to. I know it's brilliant. I've never have to play it again.
Golden Axe is awful.
No,
you take away the treasure gnomes.
Shit out of the little goblin dude.
You take away the treasure gnomes. You take away the...
Mate, we're taking this podcast off you if they're saying Golden Axe is shit.
Honestly, it's sexy, and then it's...
You ride around on dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You can breathe fire on people.
Yeah. Whoa, hang on. That's like... That might be
Golden Axe 2.
Yeah. All right, yeah. But the first Golden Axe is awful. It's so bad.
Don't try and get out of this by going, oh yeah, the Golden Axe 2 was great. They fixed all the problems that I had when I was an 8-year-old.
It's still... I mean, they're still not good. It has its moments as the series goes on, but honestly, go back and play it. It's terrible. I mean, I'll fight anyone about this, but not...
Good. I'll fight you.
I guess. All right,
I'll fucking win.
Well, you know, we'll see.
You ready to do anything you can beat me up?
I don't know.
There's absolutely no way you could beat me up.
I have no idea.
I have an idea. It's like, but it's just like, it's a really, really good game. There's a lot to it as well. And I think the way that the fighting works, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a button mash and stuff like that. But like the way that the items work, and you like power up items instead of powering up yourself, which is really, you still thinking about it.
I'm still thinking about fighting you, yeah. I'll get past that.
I'll put it to rest.
I'm just putting it.
You couldn't beat me up.
I'm just putting the different scenarios through my head. It's just
different scenarios of me fucking beating the shit out of you.
I can picture Matt jumping out from a dark alley with a pipe. It's like, I told you I can beat you in a fight. Smashing your head in.
Wily.
No, we're not going to fight anyway because I love you, Gav. And let's move on.
We're not going to fight because you're afraid. That's why we're not going to fight.
Tell me about, you've been playing too many violent video games.
8 was really good, and it's it's something I think is just going to be a really, really big game. But also Mother Russia Bleeds, which is, I think, probably the most fun game I've played this year. And it's like 2 French guys who've decided to make like a Streets of Rage style, like side-scrolling beat-em-up that's just ridiculous. Like the soundtrack is just like proper Devolver game. It's just like the soundtrack is amazing. It's all based on drugs. So like the level that I played was in like a sex dungeon, and you have a little meter, and I was asking the guy loads of questions and stuff, and he was like, whoa, we'll come to that. But it's just like, I was just pressing all the buttons anyway, and like you basically, you know, like in Streets of Rage you have your like RoboCop thing where you press like A and then RoboCop would come and like you do your special move. This you have like a little drug fuel thing because you're on drugs, and if you want to fuel that back up, you get if you beat up a junkie, it sounds mad, and it is exactly this mad. If you beat up a junkie, they start convulsing on the floor. You can like you can put a syringe in them and take drugs out of them. Then you can use that drugs to make yourself more powerful. It's fucking insane.
That sounds mad.
It's just like, it was really, really good, but also like, it's just the combat was really, really good, and like the amount of moves that I had for a side-scrolling beat-em-up with a couple of buttons, I was like, he was like, oh, if you do this and you do this and you can do this grab and like you do all these like combo moves together, and I was like, after a while I was like, I'm really good at this, and he was like, you haven't even seen half the moves you can do yet. But though, yeah, out of everything that I played at E3, and I played a lot, that was probably
you also said I won't press you on this too hard.
It's not a fighting thing again, is it? So I was going back to the earlier point about the fighting hoodwin.
If I had a knife, if I had a big knife. No, I'm not. Yeah. No, I was saying, you said earlier, before we started the podcast, you said, I've also been playing Batman, but I don't want to talk about Batman.
Yeah.
Could you just briefly, I'm not going to ask you to talk about Batman.
No, you can.
But can you briefly outline why you can't be asked talking about Batman?
Because I said the other day in like the pub with a bunch of other journalists who work for different websites, I was like, they were all talking about Batman and how much they loved it. And I'm just not feeling it. Like, I kind of like Asylum. I kind of like City. I fucking love Batman. Like, I read Batman, like, constantly. That's the only thing that I read. Like,
it's a film.
Fake geek.
Edit that one out.
It's the only thing that I've read, like, consistently, like, since I was a kid. Like, I read other comics as well.
It's a film.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know, it left me a tiny bit cold, and I just, like everyone's like, oh yeah, but now you got the Batmobile. I was like, the Batmobile is the worst bit. Like, you never see, like, elongated bits of Batman comics that are all centered around the Batmobile. Like,
Okay, so
it's never about that.
I've seen these, like, it's like these multiple tiers of stuff now of people going, this game's amazing, and then people going, oh, this game isn't that good. Fucking, like, these bits, especially Batmobile's crap. And then the third wave, of course, people going, why are people complaining this game's amazing? And
that's right.
The problem is, all I take away from it is that some people think it's incredible, some people think it's a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
But then, like, everyone has a big problem with Batmobile stuff.
Yeah. I just don't care.
But that's the problem is, I'm still somebody who is about 40 minutes into The Witcher 3.
Right.
And it's just like the fact that it's like now another big.
Yeah,
I just
it's
want
massive.
Another Asylum, sort of thing, like, yes, another Batman adventure. You've done 8 hours. I'd be like, oh, I'm in on that.
Yeah, it's not like that. And that's the thing that I don't like about it as well. Is like, forget about the Batmobile stuff, because I think the Batmobile is the worst bit.
How bad is it? Like the Batmobile stuff? Because
It's
everyone's
not bad.
banging on
People
about
love it. Like people who I trust and know more about games than me have been playing it, and have played more of it than me, and been like, you're an idiot. The Batmobile stuff are really, really good. So that's fair enough. I'm just not into that kind of
So
thing.
you're willing to just put your opinions to one side?
Not really, because I kind of no, but like it's a matter of taste, isn't it? Like, I trust that their taste is very different than mine. But like, I have to do one bit very, very early on where, like, you're Batman and you can glide around everywhere, but then it's like, right, okay, for this bit you've got to be the Batmobile, and you've got to go up a little ramp, and then you've got to go across a little ramp, and then you've got to go, and you're basically doing a platforming bit as a fucking tank. I was like, why have I got to do this? Like, I'm Batman, I can just do anything. Like, why am I now being forced in the situation? It's constraints.
That sounds like a bad design choice.
Yeah.
Of being like, no, you have to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. The thing about the Batman games, it's all about constraints, because obviously the city is a city that people live in. So they've had to come up with a reason why everyone's not there, which makes it okay.
Have been doing that in every game.
Yeah, even in the films, all the police got stuck down a hole for 6 months.
Yeah. Man, so when I first saw the reveal for this, like, back at Rocksteady, and I do love Rocksteady, and I think, like, the next game is going to be, whatever they do is going to be incredible. But like their main dude came out. When I was still working for like OXM, and I was sitting there, and the guy came out and he was just like, "Are you ready for Batman to face his toughest like thing yet?" And we were like, "Yeah, all right. What's it gonna be?" We think, in my head, I was like,
Mega Joker.
I was like,
2 Jokers.
And they were like, you know, they're gonna finish the trilogy. It's gonna be something really, really big. And I was like, fuck, it's gonna be Superman. They're gonna bring Superman into this game. They're gonna finally like deal with
Superman.
Superman
Versus Batman.
Exactly.
Film
Yeah,
comes,
like, it's huge. Like, you know, Dark Knight, all that stuff is huge. And I thought they were gonna do Superman. They were like, all the bad guys in Gotham have banded together, and they're going to take down the Batman over one night. I was like, that's the plot for all of them. That's literally what happens in both of your other games.
And in the film.
Yeah, and probably in that Origins one.
That
like,
no one played. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and it was just like, okay, it just feels like it's really, really good. Like, there's absolutely no cons. You can say it's really fun to play. Like, Batman's fucking really fun to control, but
yeah, you can't sort of write off like the fundamentals of that series.
No.
Like the fighting, the combat, and it's so good. Like,
it's really good.
So my boyfriend has just started playing Arkham Asylum,
So good.
and like, I find it really interesting because he doesn't play very many games at all. So the games that he chooses to spend his time playing sort of says a lot about the quality of that game. He fucking loves it.
That is a very, very high quality game.
Yeah.
And I think really that's like where I kind of clash invisible horns with a lot of people who play games, when people like look at Arkham Asylum and go, yeah, it was good, but it was too short, not enough stuff. It's like, no.
That's perfect.
It was perfect. Like,
But that's the thing, the constraints of that are fine, because it's like, you're on an island, you're on Asylum, so like, you're literally going around this absolute place. When they open it up, but they don't fully open it up in the terms of like GTA opens it up. It's like, oh, we're gonna be in Gotham. Like, Gotham feels the exact same like size as Arkham City.
I want a Batman game where it's a fully populated city.
Yeah.
You can swoop down and stop a thief who's grabbing a handbag.
Exactly.
And I also want to play as Bruce Wayne like going to like museum, opening a wing of a museum and going to like evening drinks and soirees and stuff and having to like maintain a disguise.
Whilst in your ear.
Time, also doing your schedule, finding time to sleep.
See, that's good.
Recuperate and then do your Batman job.
Yeah.
It's like a time management
while you're
thing
constantly
as well.
constantly being told that people are dying whilst you're sleeping and being at soirees. That would be great. Just harrowing.
That's the thing. Like, I think because I was in like the pub with 5 people who absolutely really really like this game. They were like, "Oh, you're just doing that thing where everyone doesn't like Batman." I was like, "Oh, no,
that's not true." I was like,
I just generally don't. I like the Batmobile. Always the worst part of the films for me. And it's just like I just don't enjoy being in a big car shooting shit.
I enjoyed City, but I remember very little about the experience. I remember being blown away when I started gliding around my cape through the snow and being like...
Well, the story in City is really good as well. Like, what they do at the end of City is fucking massive. Like, so I like that.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. But Asylum is just an incredible like character piece work, both in terms of like it really does make you feel like you are Batman, and also just the fact that the character of the place, the character of Arkham Asylum, is just so perfectly crafted that it feels like you're in a real place. Where City, like, it didn't feel as much like I was Batman in a way, even though I was doing the big cape shit.
Wait till you start driving around like Gotham in your car. You're like, I've been around this corner, I've been around this corner, I've been around, and be like, it's different parts of the city, and it's like. No, it's not good. And like also like where you select your missions is just, I don't know, for me it just was never that good. Like it should be like GTA would be like, oh, I'm gonna follow this particular mission through to the very end because I just quite like it. No. You can follow the first round of it and then you've got to go off and do the other rounds on your mission wheel before you can go on to the next round of that. And it's like,
so doesn't make focus.
It's like, I'm really into like rescuing all these firemen at the moment. Why can't I just go and rescue all those firemen? No. Yeah. Now you've got to solve that murder over there before you can unlock the second bit of the fireman mission. It's like, fuck off, I'm not doing that. Batman, I do what the fuck I want.
Yeah, it's not called Batman Rescues the Fireman, Gav. We've got to go do some other stuff too.
It's, I mean, there's no, you can't argue that it's a fucking brilliant game, but...
I just find it fascinating because it's like the reaction to it has been so mixed and I don't have time to play it right now. And actually, I'm quietly hoping that because the PC version of the game is just so completely fucked beyond belief that it just is not... They've refunded it and taken it off Steam. Which
that's the reason I'm not talking much about it because I can't play the fucking thing.
It's unbelievable that they've had to do that. That's like, what?
It's hilarious.
It's a Steam refunds thing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to lead to, I think it was Chris Thurston wrote a thing on PC Gamer about how it's going to affect the release dates of PC ports of games and how it's going to push them ahead. But I think it's going to result in fewer console games being ported to PC eventually.
Maybe.
People just can't be asked with having this kind of shit.
Yeah, and now that Steam, which is the biggest marketplace for PC games, is allowing refunds on them, they can't get away with it. And it's not going to be worth it to put out a shoddy PC port.
Yeah, or they have to.
Of course, because people will just go, I'm just going to refund this.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, if it's crap, you just think, no.
Yeah.
But I'm quietly hoping because everyone has been saying, oh God, the Cobra Tank battles are such a pain. It's been so consistent, people being like, even people who love the game are like, oh yeah, but you get used to it. You get used to those bits being shit. I'm hoping that eventually they'll just do the thing that people do. And you don't get single player games doing this very often, and I think it's a shame. Dark Souls did it originally, of being like, they realised that some bits were just too hard, and they were like, yeah, we're just changing the game. There's this weird thing in multiplayer games of being like, yeah, we've balanced this wrongly, so we're going to change it to make it more balanced. But in single player games, there's almost like this, I don't know what it is, maybe it's just a sort of pride of they'll fix bugs and stuff, but anything that was in the design originally, they won't change it, even if like unanimously people don't like it. Which is a shame because I'm kind of hoping that maybe when they fix the PC version, they'll just actually go, yeah, we've made the Cobra Tank bits like easier, a bit easier. So they take, because if everybody hates a certain bit, like
that makes sense.
But it doesn't happen very often in single player games.
It's like the race car mission in Mafia.
Was that a thing?
It was way too difficult.
Did they make it easier?
And they patched it and made it much, much easier.
Good. I'd like to see that more often. Of rather than
not
being
just
like
fixing bugs, but like going, oh, actually, people don't like this bit.
Yeah.
We're just going to change it.
Yeah.
I'm all for a critical spread of being like, some people love this game, some people hate it.
Yeah.
But if you listen to people love it and people hate it, and they all hate one thing, like, you've got access to the numbers.
Get rid of it.
Just give that fucking thing half as much health. Just get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I think that's about it for Batman. So now I'm going to have to ask you to leave, Gav.
Are you going to talk about her story?
I'm going to talk a little bit about her story. Do you want to say your goodbyes?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
I love you, Gav.
I will play her story, but I just haven't had time.
You should do.
So onto the controversial
contentious
meat
issue
of this pie.
Yeah.
Her story.
Her story.
Let's just start with some basics so people don't have to switch off straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Her story is a game which is not... It's got not a lot of... There aren't many mechanics in it. The idea is that you're supposed to be solving a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It's lots of tapes of a woman being interviewed by detectives, and there's been a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it by searching for words, basically.
Keywords everything she says is transcribed into text, so you can search for any word. If that word appears in that clip of the interview, it will be shown to you.
It will bring up the clips and you can view them. But there are limitations to that. If you just want to know more basics about now, if that's piqued your interest and you want to know more, I'd recommend Andy Kelly's review of PC Gamer is pretty good actually, way of just describing exactly what the game is and why it's quite nice. Although Steve, before we go into it, do you want to very briefly outline without spoiling why you weren't so hot on it?
Ooh.
So that people can have a counter opinion.
Yeah, so I thought it's a deconstruction of telling a story in a linear fashion from A to B with a twist and a conclusion. It basically separates it into a bunch of different scenes that you have to discover in an order of your own choosing. And I think it stretches storytelling to a breaking point at which it's no longer fun to consume that story.
Okay, interesting. And that's the point at which you can now, if you haven't played it, you can stroke your chin and go, interesting, and go away and have whatever opinions you want. But if you don't care, or you've already played it, then let the games begin. So yeah, I get what you mean. And I think one of the most interesting things about this game, and the biggest problem is the same thing of being like, you can discover the story in any order.
Yeah.
Although the interesting thing, and I'd love to almost see a survey from everyone who's played it about the flow of how they discover things.
Yeah, so this is interesting, and I think I wonder how much authorship there is over, like, how much of a guiding hand is there in the order in which you discover certain things about the interview with Hannah. We're going to go full blown spoiler territory now.
Let's do it.
Is that okay?
Just so you know, if you're listening, there will be nothing else after this in the podcast. So feel free to just switch it off and come back to it later if you ever do. But we're going to go full blown spoilers.
Okay. So there are several key revelations that you discover as you play. One is Hannah. You come into this thinking it's an interview with one woman. It's shown that it's actually two women, or is it two women? Is thrown up that what might be one woman with a psychological disorder. That's one of the readings that I took of it.
Yeah.
But I wondered if the developer of this game paid special attention to the sort of keywords that were dropped in front of you to allow you to find other clips in such a way that you would discover the bulk of one element of the story, such as the death of Simon, whether it was a murder or who murdered Simon or what happened there. And then secondly, once you've got enough of that, you'll start to get the Eve stuff coming in, which feels almost very separate to it. Because I noticed when I played it in two chunks, and the second time I played it, I was going through these keywords, and Eve stuff just wasn't showing up at all. I was getting all Hannah, all Simon, all her trip to Glasgow.
Interesting.
And all of that stuff. I thought, this is maybe the author, this is the developer, trying to pull me into a certain part of the story first so that it's more enjoyable for me. But the first chunk I played, it was totally discombobulated. It was confusing. It was different elements, and that's obviously the point, is that you're piecing together this video jigsaw, but you're never allowed to pull out and see the whole picture. And while that's interesting from a narrative standpoint, I ultimately just found it just unfulfilling. I didn't think that's an enjoyable way to consume that as a story.
That's interesting. I had a similar experience in the fact that it starts you off and it's like, okay, look, go and investigate this murder. But I just didn't. Very quickly, I became fascinated with who this woman was. And I almost felt, and I think maybe it's because the nature of the game is not it's not giving you any kind of aim or ultimatum. You're looking through these files. There's been a case. It was a long time ago. Maybe it must have been because the tapes are all old or whatever. So it's not like the game is going, you've got to work out who did the murder or whatever. Or you've got to work out whether or not she's innocent or guilty. So without any of these aims, I kind of took quite a relaxed approach to it, and I wasn't like, well, I've got to try and do this. And it meant I was happy to meander. And then what I started doing was just one of the elements I did enjoy actually was it got me with a pad and paper. And whilst I was sitting there, I started to act like a detective. Every time she said a word, I'd write that word down.
Yeah, I'd write down like Florence was the name of the midwife.
Or like she was like, when we went to Rome, I was like, Rome. And it's like,
I'm going to come back to this and look at this later. Yeah. That was interesting.
And then just going through and typing these words in, looking for the words and being like, no, Rome didn't happen again. No, this didn't happen again. And I did enjoy the fact that there was so much stuff, which wasn't really red herrings. It was more realistic of being like, just having people mentioning things that they never mention again because... we were on holiday in Rome, and it turns out that isn't relevant, so they're not going to mention that again. But I found then I had this big list of words, and I found that purely, I think maybe because the whole story of being like, oh, this man's been murdered, was it her, was somehow less interesting to me than just working out who this person was. And I thought, well, I can get to the murder.
Yeah.
I'll get to the murder at some point.
So what I found interesting was the Hannah and Eve relationship and the twin rules and how they shared boyfriends and stuff.
I found that within about 20 minutes, I'd found all that. And actually, around the 20-minute mark, I'd found the actual bit where it was almost like, oh, that. And weirdly, by looking for the Eve stuff, I discovered the murder. And I discovered like the actual like end of what was maybe supposed to be like the thing you find out towards the end of the mirrors and the glass. Because I became interested in the doll's house. And I became interested in this... She talked about the mirrors and the glass in the dollhouse, and I started looking at that, and it was like, oh, okay, that's the murder. That's the... And then it was unraveling, and I still enjoyed the process of going through and not trying to work out why it happened, but just trying to fill in the biggest picture. And actually, for me, the game became more about just trying to get as big a picture as I could of who she was. And weirdly, I found it strangely unfulfilling as a narrative device because of the fact that really, for what it boiled down to in my mind was... the fact that this woman was quite seriously mentally ill, but then there was no inkling as to why. There was no. I wanted to like find out. I was looking for like glimmers or flakes of information that would help me understand why she was like this. But then at the same time,
you're reading that they were the same person?
It is, and the thing is, I got really frustrated because as soon as I finished this, I wanted to talk about it. So I went onto NeoGAF and I started writing about it and talking about it on NeoGAF, which is not something I usually do. I don't have time to go on forums and talk about games.
What's interesting, like talking to you about it now is sort of raising my retrograde enjoyment of the game, because it's like, I think a big part of it is the social side of sharing theories.
And there were so many things which were brought up on this thread that I was like, oh shit. Like loads of stuff that's actually really clever.
Yeah.
In terms of the way that actually thematically it's tied together in a really nice way. Like the fact that in the junk folder there's a game that's called the Mirror game or whatever it's, and it's a 2-player game that you can only play on your own. And all these like little thematic things that are like tied throughout the whole way it's packaged. But at the same time, I found it incredibly frustrating that so many people in this thread seemed to be convinced that it was twins. Oh, they're two separate people. And it's like,
yeah,
it made me angry because it's like, I don't know, my reading of it was so strong that it was the same person.
Well, see, this is the problem, because your immediate understanding of how this sort of plot works is the twist is it's the same person. And the stuff where like she has a tattoo, and it's like I was desperately trying to find a clip where Hannah shows her arm, and
she does apparently a day before.
So there we go.
You can't see it.
Things like that, and these are elements of a story that are deployed by an author at the perfect moments to make you go, fuck, they were the same person all along. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. It's just good writing is in timing, and you don't get any timing when you are choosing almost at random which clips are being shown to you.
You're right, and it is this thing, but it does require the dissection afterwards to enjoy it. Mind you, like I felt like I was there with it, and then it's difficult to know when you're safe to go and look online and stuff. And I kind of spoiled one of the final big twists for myself because I didn't realise that by talking to the person in the chat window, you find out who you are, who your character is.
Yes.
And I kind of had that spoiled for myself. Like,
so I didn't know what to do when the chat window came up either. It pops up and says, "Are you finished yet?" And you can say yes or no. And I thought, well, I kind of want to pursue whatever this bit of the game is to see what happens, and it just leads you to the credits. And it's like, oh, hang on, I didn't want the credits, so I wanted to keep doing my thing.
That's what I had as well. I was like, hang on, is this going to end the game? I don't want to end the game. It was unclear if it was like Especially because it's SB, it's Sam Barlow, it's the initials of the creator. Which, to be honest, I do enjoy the game. But that's a bit fucking pretentious, mate. Asking your players if they're finished with your story. Just, not speaking to him directly, but if you're a game dev making a similar game, just do something else. I did like the fact that that idea, and actually weirdly for me, it made my playstyle make sense because I wasn't trying to work out what happened with the murder. I was just interested in learning more about this person and who they are and what made them tick.
Yeah, and who you were as the player as well.
Yeah, when I found out that at the end, you're the daughter.
Then you had to fit yourself into the narrative that you've built, and that's like a bowling ball going through narrative pins.
Yeah.
Can I ask, did you use the user session thing at the bottom? Because I started trying to piece together things in chronological order, thinking I could play it all in sequence.
Yeah.
I realised you can't do that.
You can just...
I just found no use for that whatsoever.
Yeah, same.
Same with the user tags on videos. I've seen it now. It's built. It's into my head as the narrative of what's going on.
The problem with that whole user tag thing is that you need it after you need it, because the problem is you see a clip and you don't see the relevance in it, and then you see something else and you go, oh shit, I need that old clip again. But because you haven't tagged it, you can't find it.
So these are some of the maybe more mechanical problems I have with the game. But the
thing is, there aren't many mechanics to the game, so mechanical problems are a lot more overt.
Yeah. So I love the aesthetic of an old CRT monitor and this old operating system, but I think the main screenshot on Steam is misleading, and you have all these windows open. You don't click around on the desktop much. You are just operating within this database window. The user session stuff I never used at all. I actually stopped finishing the game because I'd filled that user session up with I don't know if it's called user session, but it's a bottom window where you can have save clips. Yeah. And I clicked on the settings button and said delete session, thinking it's just going to clear those videos. And actually deletes your save game.
Oh, wow.
Which is bad design.
Yeah.
So I'd maybe gotten 70% of the clips. So once I'd done that, I'd gone and looked at theories online, and that filled in some gaps and stuff.
To be honest, a lot of them are, getting all of them. I must have got about 80%, but I kind of felt like the problem, it wasn't a problem, but it was more that I felt like I'd found everything I was going to find on the topics that I was interested in.
Yeah.
Because it became this thing of, after I worked out what the deal was, I was like, okay, well then now there are certain questions I was interested in. I was very interested in her parents and the death of her parents. And I did really like the fact that it is super ambiguous about that. The fact that it intones that she probably killed them. But not in any way which could even be close to being deemed as being that happened. There's not a collection of things that you can put together to go, yeah, she killed her parents as well. Mm-hmm. But I love that it's just it seems likely.
Because there's stuff about the mushrooms and how the father was a mushroom. There's no such thing as a mushroom expert.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. There are some things that bothered me.
It was odd.
But having said that, the problem is you get this sort of and this is very common in video games, I think, because video games often have broken and disjointed narratives that you end up almost getting a bit Stockholm syndrome-y with them. And the fact that one thing I really hated about the game and really kind of almost spoiled the experience for me was the fact that she was playing this acoustic guitar. And she was playing this acoustic guitar.
There's a number of clips where she's playing an acoustic guitar.
Because it's you know what? I've never been interrogated by the police.
I've been interrogated by the police. I've given a police statement.
Did they give you...
Which is the same thing. And they gave me a ukulele, and they let me sing some songs that were sort of tangentially relevant to the case they're investigating. Some of the lyrics were clues.
They shared themes with the rest of the crime.
Yeah. Some of the themes in my song were about my phone having been stolen. So it was that does happen. So I had to call you on that point.
Okay, fine. Yeah. I just thought that was unrealistic.
It was a bit. I mean, I don't mark it down at all. But the acting is amateur drama. It
is. You end up
the woman, the actress seems really likable.
Yeah, that's the thing. She seems likable, and also I like the fact that at first I was like, well, this is slightly awkward.
I wouldn't enjoy it any more or less if the acting was better or worse.
No, I think actually she did a decent performance. At first I thought it was very amateur, but then I actually realised after a while it's well, hang on, she's actually portraying two different personas.
Yeah.
And one of these personas,
you start picking up on
you don't know which, is not real. And to a degree, maybe now they've both become, because of their difference, because she's so obsessed with them being different, maybe she's an actress acting. Like, you know, it's like there's multi-layers to this. And so actually I started to enjoy that. And I started to enjoy the fact that she'd managed to actually create two quite distinct personas that took me a while to clock. That she wasn't always the same.
And it's more than just the two as well, because she's interviewed on, I think it's like 7 different days. And at certain points, on day 1, she's reporting her husband missing. And on, I think, follow-up interviews, she's admitting that she went to Glasgow. And then with that, it's then the introduction of this Eve character. So it's like different stages of her admissions to the police that is changing her persona and how she.
But I also enjoyed that because it was the process of working that out that I liked. And the fact that at first I was like, oh, when she's wearing the red shirt, she's Hannah. When she's wearing the blue shirt, she's Eve. Or the white shirt, she's Eve. And I had like, and blue and white. And I was like, well, who are these other people? And it was like, eventually I had to work out that there were other things I looked for. And I enjoyed putting down the dates on paper and then like working out by watching multiple clips and being like, Hannah, question mark? No, it's Eve on this day. Yes. And then knowing who they were talking to on each day was then like, when they said things, it gave it a completely different context of being like, oh no, that's you, which means you're probably lying about this. And I did feel like proper detective mode. Although actually it's fun. I enjoyed the theories I came to along the way. I had a theory at one point early on. It was the acoustic guitar that fucking did it, actually. I was like, this doesn't make sense. People do not play fucking acoustic guitars in police interviews. And then I was like, hang on a minute. The name at the top of the thing is MT. The room number is MT. And I thought, is it mental treatment? I thought, is this actually an interview with detectives? Or is this somebody who they already think is insane? And this is somebody in mental treatment and they're allowing her to play guitar because it's not. This is not something different. And I had this theory that she kept talking about all these people and the Doll's House and how they used to make up characters in Doll's House. I thought at one point when she was mentioning all these characters like Florence and her husband's boss and Simon, I thought, are all of them Dollhouse characters? Like, and I was like, oh my God, like all of these 5 different days, they're all just different people. Like, And when it wasn't that, I was like, oh, okay, there's only 2 characters. But I was half expecting it to be like, there was no murder. Like, she's just mad. And she just thinks that her husband, because the fact that her husband Simon makes mirrors and she talks about the beautiful glasswork in the dollhouse, I was like, is he a fucking dolly? Is your husband a fucking dolly? But I also like the mirrors with that. I like the fact that the doll's house was in the attic and she talks about Eve living across the road and that could be the dollhouse.
And and like the reflections and like not liking your own reflection. And I mean, there are so many red herrings as well. I mean, it's written in a way that you can interpret it as Eve being entirely fictional, or being a second personality of hers. And then Eve's eventual meeting with Simon to being almost like Simon's trying to reckoning with Hannah's other personality and trying to, and then having sex with her while in that personality.
I found it fascinating though, because it's like, I think one of the reasons I enjoyed it was because it felt to me, because there were so many red herrings and it gives you this like, here's a pile of information and you've got to just go through and discern what's relevant and what is not relevant and why it's relevant and just condense it into something that makes sense.
You wouldn't forgive a film if it was that open to interpretation.
No, but in my mind it isn't, and that's why I get so frustrated when people like in my mind have come out with a weird theory that makes more sense. Like I'm getting really frustrated when I'm looking forwards and going, yeah, but you know the whole thing with the Odeon where she was going to the bathroom and swapping clothes, that proves it's twins, and you're like, are you mad? Like what? That's clearly somebody. That's clearly not real. Like, and I don't know. Like even the fact that like. I think it's interesting, and it's one of those things where the twins theory seemed to pop up a lot more with people who maybe had a bit less empathy. Or maybe we're a bit younger. And it's not to be demeaning of those things, but...
Stupid people.
No, it's not that simple.
You have to be some sort of idiot to think there are 2 distinct people.
I saw somebody who was like, oh, it doesn't make sense, because if it was true that she had multiple personalities, then it means that Simon must be mad as well. Because why would you stay with a woman who occasionally thinks that she's a different woman entirely? And it's like, well... You sort of look at these people on the forums and go, well, you've clearly never been in love with somebody. Like, it's this thing of like, you don't understand.
And to be fair, there are enough clues either way. I mean, a large chunk of my interpretation of it, I initially believed the most obvious thing, which is definitely the same person. That's the twist. It has to be the twist. And then there's enough clues that are being fed to me that there were different people that I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but the idea of having somebody living in the attic for 30 years without anyone noticing, who looks identical to you.
But maybe Eve's mad and she's saying living in the attic as a metaphorical sense.
I mean, I do like the fact that it does remain really open, but I do also agree that it's just maybe making you do a bit more of the work and piecing it together. And again, it's the fact that somebody pointed out to me about the guitars, because I really hated the guitars, and I was like, that's bad for me, because it's bad enough that I think, and I presume this is how they did it, and I think actually, just as somebody with very, very minimal filming experience, it annoys me that when she's sitting there talking to two detectives, I don't think there are two people there. There may be one person there, but they should have had, at all times when filming, people opposite her, regardless of whether or not they were saying or doing anything. But I can tell.
Or just a couple of ping pong balls for her to look at.
No, I don't think even that. I think you can tell that she's looking left, looking right, like she's crossing a road. It's like there is something about when you, unless you are really experienced at it, you can tell if somebody's looking at somebody or if they're looking at nothing.
Yeah. But I think that factors into the acting comment. It's like,
I guess.
I think it could be a more convincing portrayal of an interview, but I don't think that really matters in the scheme of.
But the guitar, Stephen, the guitar.
Yeah, the guitar was fucking weird.
It's like it just doesn't make sense.
It was nice though.
It's
I listened
nice.
to it. It's like no, that's nice.
It was creepy as fuck.
I got an achievement for it.
Yeah, I didn't like them either. I was like, what does that mean? It's something relevant? Or
yeah, it was like, why is that significant? And it's like, it felt a little bit self-satisfied at times when there was a clip where it's like, I didn't think it was that important or good.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, you just got this. It's like, well,
it's one of these.
Don't tell me, like, the entire point of your game is that I'm constructing the narrative from scraps.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that was significant.
It's one of these.
You're trampling over the core idea of what your game is.
You're completely right. And it is one of those weird games where I kind of had and I really hope he never listens to this, but it was one of those games where I really enjoyed the game, but I couldn't help but feel that the author was a bit of an arsehole. Like
on his website, he's got an amazing essay about narrative in games and what the inspiration for her story, and it's like it's really interesting, and I think as an experiment, it's fascinating.
Yeah,
the idea that it's basically a not just a video jigsaw, but just a story jigsaw where you're finding bits of a plot and you're putting them together and interpreting it as you go. But it does bend the rules of storytelling. I think it also breaks them. And I think it breaks them. And that means as a story, it's not that fun. And I think it's also strange as well because I think I don't want to come across as being contrary because everyone really fucking loves this game. And
yeah, but I think, you've obviously got a much better stake to play in this situation, the fact that you've actually played it.
That's right.
A lot of people hated it because they felt it was...
Well, yeah. Also, I don't want to align myself with the kind of fucking pricks who are leaving negative reviews of it on Steam.
That is actually a bigger difficulty. It's the same way that in the fact that because there are arsehole Muppets, it's like it means it's impossible to criticise people like Femme Frequency and their videos. Are like a lot of the time, I think structurally they're not as good as they could be, but because so many people have already been such dicks
there's
about
no
it,
point. There's already enough weight behind the negative argument.
Yeah, Also, you can't get involved with that because people will just steamroller it and it's done. You just have to step away and just go, it's fine, whatever.
I mean, I would recommend people play it. I think people are going to like it.
But I think the thing is, like, I actually, before we talked about this tonight, because you were saying, we were talking about Google Chain, like, I don't like her story that much. I really liked it. But at the same time, I am also deeply conscious of the fact that I enjoyed my experience with it, mainly because I think that one of the things I enjoy the most is just being thrown into a bucket of information and having to filter through, and I like doing that, and I'm quite good at it, and that was almost like a weird puzzle.
I would have liked if there was a more gamey element there, where as I was trying to do with the little user session at the bottom of the screen, getting clips and me putting them back into chronological order, like I kind of wanted to piece the whole thing together.
That would have been a really good.
There is a screen.
mechanic.
There is like an application on the desktop. It's like a memory application where you see how many blocks, how many.
Even as an
clips you've
optional thing
unlocked.
to be able to do that and put them into the slots.
Yeah,
that would have been
because I've described it twice as a jigsaw. If it was a jigsaw that you could see the completed thing, that's like that. I think I'd feel a bit more satisfaction.
I can't. Yeah, that would have actually just
from a video game mechanic perspective. I think that would give you a little bit more gratification for getting some progress through.
And it was already quite like a kind of vague system to begin with no directions. Even if it just gave you an option to open something and do it, and with the being somehow clear that you don't have to do this, that would have been great. Just to be able to put it like collecting panini stickers and putting them in the right slots. That would have been, because I found at one point there was this thing I remember there was this interview where she went from being like, I don't see the problem at all, whatever, fuck you guys, to then like a few minutes later saying, I want a lawyer. And I was like, I remember thinking, what happened in between? And the problem is you can't see the questions, and I get that, but I almost thought if I could find the clips in between. That's not how interviews work, are they? No. That's the thing, is I wish it had been a bit more like in the same way that stuff like The Wire is so good, because it actually just did its research so well on the subject matter. I really wished it had paid a little bit more attention to police interviews in a way. It had elements of that, but then, but then somebody mentioned, I was talking about the guitar thing, I haven't finished it, but what I was going to say is, somebody said, oh, well, maybe at this point the police have worked out that she's two alter egos, and they know that one of them, Eve, is a singer, so that if they present her with the guitar, and she says, oh, I can't play the guitar, then they know it's Hannah, but then if they give her the guitar and she sings, then they know it's Eve.
There was a sense in some of the interviews that the interviewers
knew what was going on.
Knew what was going on at that point, and it was less of a who killed Simon and more of a let's figure out what
why
the
did
fuck
this
is
happen?
wrong with you.
And that's kind of what the game is about as well, of being like, and I guess we haven't seen this think piece on the internet yet, but I guess the internet is probably due a think piece about the fact that it is in a weird way kind of narratively lazy, that it's just the answer is, oh, it's just a woman who's mad. And there's no kind of dealing with the fact that in real life, this split personality thing often is a result of quite extreme childhood trauma.
Yeah, but
I don't think no sign of that.
But I don't think it's ultimately come down to, oh, this woman is mad. I think it's more of an Inception ending, where it's like, was it all a dream?
Yeah.
Because there's enough there are enough clues in there that will suggest that they are two different people.
No, you're right.
You can interpret it in a very valid way.
And I think it does. I think it does speak to the strength of the game, that I'm so committed to the fact that it's one person, that I actually get quite actively angry when I see people who think it's twins. I'm like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong. Which is like, for that to drive me to bizarre lengths like that, I think it's got under my skin in a way. But no, it's an enjoyable experience, and it's it's cheap, and I'm not going to recommend it, because if you're this far, you've either ruined it for yourself, or you've already played it.
Yeah, so if you haven't played it, then I don't recommend you play it, because you know most of what's going on.
The other final criticism people talk about is apparently it's got pretty much like a very, very similar story and theme to Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which a lot of people have said, oh yeah, but like it's pretty much the same thing as he did in another game, which is one of those things where it's like, well, actually, yeah, but if you look at that,
because the developers worked on that game, didn't he?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where you look at it from like, if you look at it from a creative field thing, it's like, well, that happens a lot. Like, filmmakers become interested in a theme, and they like try and keep doing that theme again and again until they nail it. And I'm actually kind of more on that side of being like, well, if you're somebody who played Shattered Memories and you didn't know that this is going to be similar, and then you play this and it's like, oh, it's the same thing, then that would be really quite annoying. But at the same time, from the perspective of people like me who've never played and never would have done, to see somebody trying to refine an idea they've had, I think is actually quite admirable. And I think there's something to be said for being like, no, I'm going to revisit that and try and do it properly. But I think a lot of people are basically going, oh, this guy's a one-trick pony, he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. So it's one of those things where I think her story is fantastic. It's definitely flawed.
Yeah, but, I don't want to come across as being too down on it. It is that thing of seeing unabashed. You get that instinct when you see unabashed praise for something,
Absolutely.
And you go, well, people aren't mentioning this thing that I don't like about it.
It's really hard,
making that the focus of your output about it.
Because I
don't want to do that, because it is a really good game, and the reviews you read of it are accurate, and it is a fascinating experiment.
I think it is the problem, though, the fact that you can't. It's really hard to discuss the faults of it without getting into the process of spoiling. Like, Gav was like, oh, you'll be able to talk about why it's not good without spoiling it. I'm like, I don't know if we will. Like, because you really have to go into it. It is like that. It's like Cabin in the Woods. If you have to go into it thinking you're doing a murder trial, like thinking you're doing a murder mystery, and if somebody says, oh, it's not really about the murder, then you've already half ruined it for yourself. So,
although I think my core problem with it is spoiler free, in that it's the assembling of a story that I don't think works. That's my main problem with it. And I think for some, you could probably have a playthrough where if you roll the dice just right and you put the keywords in just the right way and you discover things in just the right order, you'll have a really interesting, fun time with genuine revelations and twists that are deployed to you at just the right time. I didn't get that when I played.
No, I felt like I'd kind of broken it as well. But I think the problem is that maybe made me feel special, but maybe actually in reality everyone's special. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.